Hi there, I'm Terry from Untold Play, and this is the first in my video series on successful games and ideas and concepts from them which we could take into games-based learning and gamification of learning. So today I'm going to look at Opus Magnum, which is a really nice little puzzle game. It's based around alchemy. You're an alchemist trying to create certain products by putting together strange and complicated machines. So find here all the levels that I've completed. So I'm just going to go into one of those just to show you how the game works. So go into this one, Hangover Cure. And these are the high score charts, and that's really what I'm interested in today. But in order to show you what these really mean, I'm going to go into the game itself, the puzzle level. And what we've got here is a canvas which you can fill with all kinds of different pieces of machinery. So I can decide that I want to use this piece of machinery, and here's one of the things that I need to process with it. And there's all kinds of different things I can do there, and each one has a cost, and then it has a size as well, and they'll become relevant. But also, once I put them together on the screen, I need to tell them how to operate together. So we've got towards the bottom a set of commands here which I can kind of drag and drop into this space here to make a program where actually it tells it to do certain things in a certain order. And that program will have a length. How many times that kind of length needs to go through in order to create the outcome that we're looking for will become important as well. So the outcome we're looking for is this product in the top left. So it's a certain combination of different elements, and we have to produce 6 of them. And then the game, the puzzle, will see how long it takes us in time, or how much money we spend on it, and also how big the machine is. So it's interesting to see then what happens because of that setup. So the first machine that I created for this level that I want to show you is this one called Lightning. And if I just set it going, you'll see that it very quickly runs through this program at the bottom, and you probably won't understand all the things that it's doing if you haven't played the game, but you can see that it's moving things around really quickly, and before we know it, 6 of that item have been created, and it's showing me the cost, the speed here, and the area, and it's showing me set against other people's scores on those things. So the cost here is actually higher than most people's cost. This is like a histogram, a kind of bar chart around how often people spent X amount of money on it. So almost everyone spent less. So mine was a very expensive machine, but that's because I optimized it for speed. And in fact, the speed is really low, much lower. The number of, the lower is better on the speed. So it was really quick compared to everybody else's. And in terms of area, it was about average. It also shows me against my friends as well. So the friend that I'm connected with on this game is He Who Jams Spam. And actually, I beat his scores on all 3 measures for this particular level. So that's me trying to optimize this level and this puzzle for speed. But actually, if you are rated on these 3 things, you can try and optimize for any of them. So you can try and optimize for size. And this one, minuscule here, does that. It's very, very compact. If I set it going now, you'll see it's working much slower. It's having to take all these separate parts. It's not, using lots of machinery to speed itself up. So to actually make 6 of those, it's going to take quite a while. But it is definitely quite small and compact. It doesn't range out across the canvas. So that one in particular, that's what it's optimized for. And if I take you to cheapest chips, that's my 3rd design. And this one is optimized for cost, for budget. So, and this one is definitely, not doing things in the most efficient way possible in terms of the construction process. But it's quite an odd construction process with things ranging out all over the place, which is why it's not so small as it might look, because all those squares that it moves over are counted. But in terms of pieces of machinery, it's not using many, so these costs haven't been incurred. So what we get in the end is that if we look at any of these 3 solutions, we can see the scores for that solution, but also we can see my best scores. So my best score on cost is, is in the bottom kind of percentile, if you like, of people. So, managed to make it really cheap. My best score for cycles for speed is also among the best. And my best score for area is among the best, not quite as good as the absolute best there. So it's a really interesting way to get people to look at each level and each puzzle within this game in different ways and kind of tickle different creative bones within that person. So I've used different ideas to try and optimize for each of these three things. And also a good way to have something instead of a really crude leaderboard. So if it just had a leaderboard of, you get points for speed and you get points for cost and so on, then we're just trying to kind of balance those things in a single way. And then perhaps, whoever gets the best score from that, it just shows up. But by having this, we can have, somebody's doing quite well on cost, but somebody else perhaps is doing really well on speed. So you get different areas, different arenas of competition, and different ways that the kind of creativity and the effort is being kind of pushed. So obviously this game is not for learning, but the point of this series of videos is to help us think about how some of these ideas from non-learning games could be brought across into learning games or gamification of learning. So I've used a very similar concept to this, for instance, in a project management game for a project management training course, where I've taken things like project completion date, how quickly we're bringing the project in, or budget, or other deliverables within the project, and had them on kind of separate leaderboards or kind of measures which they can compete on. So you could be doing well on one and not so well on another. I can also imagine this working really well for all kinds of different learning experiences. So if you were training or teaching Excel, Microsoft Excel, then you could get people to design an Excel spreadsheet to solve a problem, but then rate them on different metrics. So perhaps which was most attractive, which was most efficient, which used the most complex kind of different formulas and so on. Excel is not my strong point. And then even something that wouldn't normally have, you wouldn't think perhaps leaderboards could be interesting. So for instance, if you were doing some kind of learning experience around presentation skills, you could get everybody to design and deliver a presentation, but have leaderboards on who used the fewest slides, who took the least amount of time, who got the best rating on average from the judges, and all kinds of different things like this, which, as well as being different things to aim for and to make them think about how they could achieve, could also be interesting just to discuss at the end and say, okay, well, did the person who used fewest slides, did that help with the quality of their presentation? How did that affect things? So it's this different way of looking at it, rather than having just a single crude competition, to try and think of different metrics, different ways of aiming and rating on different things that you're trying to achieve, and then having those as individual things that people can be compared on, perhaps have a leaderboard, or perhaps have, like you see here, a histogram, or any number of other things that help us to perhaps just touch those competition buttons, which can be really effective, but sometimes aren't used in the best way with a single traditional leaderboard. So this has been Terry Pierce from Untold Play with the first in this video series about how we use different ideas from games in more learning-based games and gamification. If you've enjoyed this, I would love for you to subscribe. I'd love to hear more from you in the comments, or you can reach me on terry@untoldplay.com, and I'd love to start a conversation. Thanks very much.